My name's Steve McKenzie. I'm with TIH Homes. I'm a builder here in the North Georgia area. What I wanted to share with you guys today is whether you hire me or you hire another builder, there are some concepts, there are some components to this process that you want to make sure you have in place. So this is not necessarily in any order, but one of the first things you want to do is you want to have a set of finished plans. When I say finished, I'm meaning like plans that everybody's agreed on, you guys have settled on, and you're ready to build. So these plans are crucial to the whole program. You're going to want to make sure those plans, this is a smaller version of what I just showed you. You want to make sure these plans actually make it to the contract that you would sign. So initial and sign off on it, make sure all builders should build to a set of standard guidelines. Here in the Atlanta area, these are the residential construction performance guidelines. We also make part of the contract. Those work in conjunction with what I call the standard features. So when you have your standard plans, you have your standard features is actually going to go into the house, and then you're agreeing on how we're actually going to apply and build those standards in the home. You tie all those together, and it starts to build a foundation to the construction process that we're going to follow. In addition to that, or alongside of that, every builder should have an in-house method on how to build, like a step-by-step process. I actually have an 18-stage system that allows me to punch out and apply a really strong quality assurance program throughout the whole build. So this manual lays out a step-by-step process which ties into everything that I just told you. Once we get all of this established, we're going to want to put together what's called a construction agreement. They have a variety of construction agreements. Everything I use is with Greater Atlanta Home Builders because I trust those guys. And because I'm part of that organization, they recognize myself as a high quality builder within that organization. Of course, you want all your anybody that you hire, you're going to want to make sure he's licensed. An initial construction agreement. It's a little bit of a thinner document, but this will get you going as you put all this other stuff in place. That will lead to longer version of the contract. So again, this is important to have all these I's dotted, T's crossed as you go into the build. A budget's huge. It's important. You're going to want to make sure that you and your builder have agreed on how much it's going to cost to build the home and how this fits in with the overall construction process that you agreed on. Today, you want to make sure you come in budget so that there are no surprises. You're going to want to have a document that lets you know when you're going to pay your builder, how much the builder's going to make. Quite frankly, when those draws or when those payments are going to be made. One of the last components, or one of the final components that exists, is what I call the homeowner handbook and your warranty agreement. So as part of the contract, you get a warranty, a 1 year's builder warranty. No, 1 year builder warranty is what you're after. And this handbook is attached to the deal, and it's the agreement that we would have after the fact. So we have an agreement for the build, and then we have this agreement for after the fact, for the warranty. One of the primary focuses that all builders should have is our mentality exists where we are focused on cost, quality, and production. So the quality are the features and how we're going to build, cost, the budget, and then the production part of it is how we package this all together and how quickly we move through the process. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself. One of the first things that I recommend that you do in this process, we had talked briefly about how to choose a builder. That builder, that guy that you're going to end up getting married to for the next 7 months of the building process. You want to hire him up front because you want him to help you to walk through the plan process. And from the plan process, you're going to want him to help you set up your budget. And the smartest thing you can do is do that up front. And the way you find a builder, I already mentioned this, but through the Greater Atlanta Home Builders, you can go to their directory and you can find a builder there. You can go online. You can start perusing websites. My website is tihhomes.com. Feel free to check us out there. I mentioned cost, quality, and production. Let me give you some ideas of what that looks like and sounds like. In the Southeast, in this area of the United States, the average price of a per square foot cost to build a house is anywhere from $135 to $150 a square foot. Now, that changed dramatically when the pandemic hit. Everything went up $25 a square foot easy. So now what you're talking about is like $155 to $165 to $175 a square foot. Builders may use as a nice round number, hey, it's going to be around $200 a square foot. But here's the bottom line. These standard features that you choose impact that budget. It impacts that cost. So if you want granite versus quartz, if you want 42-inch cabinets versus 30-inch cabinets, if you want real hardwood versus LVP, if you want 10-foot ceilings versus 9-foot ceilings, that all impacts the cost. And that's actually a buyer or a customer choice. All that stuff has got to be written down and placed in these standard features, because remember, we're going to have the budget before we really enter into the deal. Another reason cost is important, because when you go to the bank, and builders will help you do this. For example, like I have banking relations that I will recommend to you. When you go to that bank, they're going to want to know, hey, what plan are you building and how much is it going to cost? They're going to want to see a line item budget for that. And typically, they're going to want to see the standard features. So cost is huge. And guess who directly affects the cost? The customer, the buyer. You do. You affect the cost, because if you say, hey, I want to change from LVP to real hardwood, well, you are adding a ton of money to the build. And at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to pay that, especially if it's a cost plus deal. Getting back to cost briefly, that rough thumbs up $200 a square foot, that's a cost that does not include the land. When I told you that from the pandemic, the price went up to $160 to $175 a square foot, with a rough $200 a square foot number that's encompass everything that you're going to want to do, that does not include the land, and it's something you need to consider. One question that I've had presented, actually more often than not, is who puts this all together and how is it packaged? The short answer is, this deal is between the customer, the buyer, and the builder. Real estate agents serve a purpose. They're important to have, especially if you don't have a builder that's experienced. But typically, when you do business with a guy like myself, I have all of this package, and the deal boils down to you and I. We will put this together. We will dot I's and cross T's, and we will make sure this whole thing runs smooth. Everybody in a deal, like we're talking about today, everybody in a deal has a role. I've laid out our role as far as putting this together and making sure we're dotting I's and crossing T's. Going back to the real estate agent, that realtor, if you're going to pay that person to do their job, you're going to want them to bring you, say, if you haven't found your lot yet, you're going to want them to roll up their sleeve and start looking for lots for you within the criteria that you give them. And say maybe you've never looked at a lot before in your life. And you're going to want to have that builder hired up front so he can give you advice on, hey, these are the best type of land purchase for what you want to do. But that real estate agent would be the guy that goes out there, hunts for it, brings you the ideas, brings you the properties so that you can go and take a look. Along the lines of cost, quality, and production, we kind of touched on cost a little bit. Quality is huge. I don't think very many builders have this. At least I have not seen competitors, other builders use a system like this. I call it a per stage building process. 18 stages, average size home, takes 126 days. And basically what you do is you make sure that as you build through each stage is 100% done before you go to the next stage. And what that eliminates, you may have seen this, is when a typical builder is finishing a home, at the very end, you're going to see 100 cars out front of the house, and he's going to be shoving everybody in there to finish that house. Well, if we do our job properly and we build per stage, what's going to happen is every stage is finished. So at the very end, the only people that are going to be there are painters and cleaners. And there's not going to be framing contractors coming back. And there's not going to be all these other contractors that should have already been done. So the quality part is huge. The final quality assurance systems like buyer orientation, buyer walkthroughs, making sure the house is 100% done before you move in, huge. I cannot tell you the horror stories that I've heard where people have moved into a home. There's been this punch list that's 100 items long. Builder never finishes it, and people just get aggravated. Delving back into cost momentarily here, I just wanted to make sure this was clear because it comes up more often than not. When I talk to you guys about standard features, well, standard features are different depending on the type of home you're building. So you might build what would be called a tract or production home. You might be building a semi-custom home. You might be building a total custom home. There's a variety of houses that are built, and it all depends, quite frankly, on what you want to do and how much money you want to spend. You can choose countertops anywhere from old style Formica all the way up to quartz and anything in between. That choice is going to be dependent upon the deal you have with your builder, because all that stuff costs, it's different costs are involved. You don't want to make the mistake that, oh, well, I've watched these videos on Pinterest and they're showing me, or Chip and Joanna Gaines, they're showing me this granite for $150 a square foot, but realistically, on this particular build, so that you stay in your budget, you're really buying granite for $60 a square foot. You want to just stay away from the pie in the sky and with what you really like and what's reality for what you're doing. And you also want to make sure you stick with what's tried and true. When you're looking for plans, you can go on the internet. You can go in the greater Atlanta area. There are architects that have been tried and true, and you can build their plans, or you can just builder and go on his website. If that builder has built plans over and over again, he's going to know his costs. And when he recommends something to you, you're probably going to want to listen to that versus not. So one of the last things I wanted to talk to you guys about is 18-stage construction manual that I use to build my standard homes anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 square feet. That's a standard type of build, standard builder selections, those kind of things, which actually are, there's quite a lot of value to those. You see all throughout Atlanta. What I wanted to make sure everybody understood is this. It may take, depending when you build on your own lot, 2 to 3 months just to get through the initial process. Going through the county or the local jurisdiction, deciding on where you're going to place the house on the lot, making sure you go through engineering and surveying properly. It might take 2 to 3 months. And from the time that gets done to the time you permit and start building vertically, that may take 6 to 7 months, depending on how custom the home is and how much the builder and the customer are cooperating. So it could be a lengthy process, more than just that 126-day vertical build I was telling you. Lead times are really important. We are building, guys, when we build a house, we're not driving a itty bitty speedboat. We're driving an ocean liner, and those things don't turn fast. So we want to get out in front of what we're doing in advance. We're going to want to make our selections in time. And once that happens, the build goes a lot smoother.